What's up, welcome back to Nowstalgia. Dave here with a review of Ariana Grande's 7th album, Eternal Sunshine. It's Ariana's first album in over 3 years, following Positions way back at the end of 2020, which of course capped the 3-album run from Ariana with Sweetener, Thank You Next, and Positions. And of course that run was in sync with Ariana achieving the top of pop stardom for both her celebrity, her effortless vocal range, really the best voice of her generation when it comes to pop stars, and also just really great songcraft. I think knowing who to work with, of course, collaborating with someone like Max Martin. That being said, Positions was the weakest of those 3 albums, where there was still a lot to, I think, like about that album, but it definitely felt less consistent than Sweetener and Thank You Next. So following, again, 3 years, which is a long time in pop music, and of course, Ariana has been in the public eye recently, of course, following her divorce from Dalton Gomez, her relationship with Ethan Slater, her co-star from the upcoming Wicked film coming later this year. Ariana's been in the news, and Eternal Sunshine, I wasn't really sure what to expect from a sound perspective with a new album from hers after such a long layoff, and that lead single, Yes and, certainly gave us a hint of what was to come. I'm happy to say that Ariana Grande's 7th album, Eternal Sunshine, is a very impressive sonic pivot from a A-tier pop star. Ariana is not giving you the traditional sound she usually has. This is more synthy. This is more like moody, more atmospheric, but also lyrically, it's a really impressive, I think, progression from Ariana. It's less, I think, tabloid and explicit and like name dropping when it comes to lyrical sentiment, but it's still, I think, a really cohesive lyrical message, where this is obviously a breakup album from Ariana, but it feels, I think, a lot more moody and a lot more like lived in, and you can kind of like sink into this album. And the sounds, again, with the synths, with the disco vibes, like it's definitely a change from Ariana, but I think it also really speaks to her talents as a vocalist, that she's able to really switch up what she has been known to do again and still really deliver some great songs, working with Max Martin on 11 of the 13 tracks here. But these are not the typical like Max Martin big pop maximalist song you might think of. There's no Bad Idea on here if we look back to Thank You Next, which of course was a Max Martin song. These are different. But again, it speaks to Ariana's talent that she's able to really progress to this and I think lean into R&B even more than she ever has. And she's done that before. Look back on Yours Truly, some songs on Positions. But like this, I think, is a real like statement of like intent of changing the type of song she makes. It's really cool. And when you do get the amazing vocals from Ariana that we know she can give us, I think they actually hit really hard because you're not getting them quite as often on this album. So I was pretty impressed with Eternal Sunshine, really for it being an effective, engaging change from what she has done before. Notably, this is only 13 songs, 36 minutes. It's pretty brief, but I think there's a lot here in terms of just songs to go back to. Let's start with track 2, Bye. Very dancey, very synth heavy, basically a disco song. I think the hook is quite catchy, the boy bye part. Yeah, I think this is probably one of the highlights of the album, one of the easiest songs to revisit. I'm curious like what the hit is going to be on Eternal Sunshine, just because this album was coming out. Ariana Grande signed to Republic Records. Republic Records, part of Universal Music Group. None of these Ariana Grande songs are going to be on TikTok. Obviously, Ariana Grande is way bigger than needing TikTok to be successful. This will be a big album, a #1 album, obviously. But I'm just curious, like, how those things go when the traditional mode of promotion, a la TikTok, is not available to her. Anyway, I think Bye definitely has some chance to be a hit for sure. Don't Want to Break Up Again, I thought that one was pretty solid. The title track, though, Eternal Sunshine, very vibey, a little more bass heavy. I think verse 1 was quite catchy. I like Supernatural from Aria as well. I think True Story, another big highlight from her. The bass drums really hit again on this one, but I think like sonically, her vocal progression really stands out. And you kind of just have one of those classic like stinger lyrics from Ari. I'll play the bad girl if you need me to. Again, I think just the kind of cohesion of the lyrical sentiment on this album, where she doesn't name drop who she's talking about. There's no song named Pete Davidson this time, but you get the vibe, and it all comes across honestly as pretty evergreen. True story, it's a good one. The next song, The Boy Is Mine, shout out Brandy and Monica, obvious reference. I like this one. When the beat drops about the 8-second mark, goddamn, that shit hits. And I think at this point, this middle to end stretch of the album, instrumental wise, beat wise, the album really picks up. I think it gets really quite engaging. And then we have, of course, Yes and, the lead single, which I actually like a lot more in the context of the album. I thought it was okay as a single on its own when I first heard it, and really just interesting from it being a sign of probably what was to come. And of course, we now know that is to be the case. But Yes and, in the context of the album, the beat almost like comes across as like super strong. It's almost like a breakbeat vibe with this. And even if I still don't love the hook vocally, it's just not quite sticky enough, the song does have good verses. And a really fun remix that we just got last week featuring Mariah Carey, of course, someone Aria is often compared to. We Can't Be Friends, Wait for Your Love. This is another big highlight on Eternal Sunshine. This is a great song. Lyrically, I think it's probably the most consistent, the most compelling thing from Ari here. Another like instant classic line from her. Honestly, you got me misunderstood, but at least I look this good. Fucking bars. I wish I hated you. This is the ballad on this. There's not that many ballads, thankfully. Not what I go to for Ariana, so that one didn't really stand out to me. Imperfect for You, though, I like this one quite a bit. Drum hits really nice, like the mixing on this is quite choice, where it's hitting right on like those vocal lines from Ari. You get a little bit of subtle guitar on this one. And then Ordinary Things, the final song, has the one quote feature, but it's really just words of wisdom from Ariana's grandmother. There's actually really no features on this album. So yeah, Eternal Sunshine. It's been, again, 3 years from Ariana Grande, a eternity in pop music when you're at the top. And yet, this feels like a really put together, compelling album. And it certainly speaks to the tabloid nature of Ariana's public life, but I think in a mature way, in a different way than she has in the past. And there's stickiness to a lot of these songs that'll make them easy to revisit, despite the fact that they are sonic change and they are not as big and maximalist as some of the bangers she's dropped in the past. So again, in conclusion, I'm just quite impressed with her ability to compel us in such a new way. So yeah, shout out Ariana Grande. I'm looking forward to her going on tour again because I missed the Sweetener World Tour when that came out, which was a big tour. Hoping she goes on tour again. I want to see her. But yeah, let me know. How did you feel about Ariana Grande's album, Eternal Sunshine? What did you like about it? Did you appreciate all these changes? Let me know. And for more music reviews, subscribe. And I'll see you next time.